Hello and welcome to this LudoNarraCon stream of Citizen Sleeper. I'm Gareth Damian Martin, the solo developer and creator behind the game, and today I'm going to show you the start of the game. I'm going to play through a bit of it, chat a bit, read out some of the stories for the game. Let's get started. We have a little update news down here. Actually, it is a good point to stop and say that there is a lot going on with Citizen Sleeper right now, and if you want to keep up with that, there is a Substack that you can sign up to, my Substack, which I will let you know more about the game and more about what's happening in the wider world of Citizen Sleeper. That's where you get to that, but you can also find it at jumpovertheage.substack.com. So yeah, but right now we're going to head into the game. I'm going to start a new game. Let's take over this one. Erase the data, yes please. So Citizen Sleeper, if you don't know anything about it, is a role-playing game. It's inspired by tabletop games, and because of that, we have a starting class selection at the start of the game. We've got the machinist over here, and there's a skill system in Citizen Sleeper where you get bonuses basically to your dice rolls based on your skills. The skills are engineer, interface, endure, intuit, and engage. So here we have the machinist, who specializes in engineering. The operator specializes in interfacing, working with digital interfaces. An extractor, who has high endurance. For this playthrough, I'm going to play as a machinist. I'm going to play a kind of engineering character with a low engage skill, so someone who's maybe a bit introverted or kind of quieter, diligent engineer. So this is our sleeper. I'm going to head into the game. The first thing you become aware of on waking is the disconnect. The delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible, but always present. It's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many dark hours recalling what it felt like to be real, to be a person, to be in a body that was indisputably yours. Think of that body or forget that body. Think of that body. A leap into a cold lake on a hot day. The sting of blood welling from a fresh wound. The friction of a fingertip. All of a sudden, the memories are closer than you thought, blurring as you approach, until you can't tell one from another. The cold slips in, behind and around you, and the sensations fade out of reach. Perhaps you should be thankful for the dulled nature of this new body, given your current circumstances. The walls of the container feel immediately present, cold, hard at your back and face, cramping your limbs. You resist the desire to stretch, knowing that the claustrophobia comes next, and retreat a little from your central nervous system. It isn't painful, not like you used to know pain at least. In emergency mode, pain is a message, delivered with efficiency and ease, a reminder that harm is imminent. There is no insistent throb, no trembling nerves, just a warning delivered with the banal quality of a digital notification. Right now there are thousands of them. Gonna remember the others. You remember there were 10 of you. 10 that could no longer stand the indentured work, the routines, the slow decay. 10 whose belief in their promised future was slowly dismantled day by day, until they realized they had sold everything away that could and would ever matter. 10 that would escape, or at least die trying. Some were lost in the shaft. Others never found the meeting point. Only a few made it to the containers, but the freighter, as far as you know, left. That feels like enough. Enough to know that you might no longer be on that grim and heartless rock, even if, in the airless hold of a freighter, you might freeze solid long before you reached any destination. I'm going to try to rest. But you are restless. It has been a long time since you left, surely weeks, maybe months. You are dully aware of damage to your legs, your right arm. You've been reserving energy as much as possible, but your body has still needed to shut down many of its systems to protect you. You've spent much of that time asleep, knowing that anything else would be impossible to endure. You feel the weight of that impossibility begin to gather. It is time to sleep again, to nudge this false body into inducing delta waves in your emulated mind, and once again recoil into a dream of when you were once a person. Rest. Time passes. The cold creeps further in. You feel something. Warmth. Not true warmth, but the indication of its presence. Your joints release from their rigor. Sound, too, everywhere, screeching and shimmering so loud that your body ducks your hearing to protect its senses. Then light, white as the cold, softer and softer until in a haze of dirty yellow, a figure appears. You're out. So here we are on Erlin's Eye, the space station that the game is set on, and we are playing as a sleeper, a kind of escaped android who's, as you've seen from this scene, managed to find their way out of the indentured servitude that they were built to do and onto this ramshackle space station. Let's see what's going to happen here with this character scene. It has been a few hours since Dragos pulled you from the container. You sit huddled in a corner of his scrapyard, swaddled in the reflective folds of a mylar blanket. You are slowly coming back to consciousness, back to life, and you stare at the ornately curving element of an improvised heater. You are surrounded by angular, incoherent lumps of ships, some corroded beyond recognition, others still carrying glassy wounds along their edges where a plasma arc sliced them apart. As you trace their shapes with fogged eyes, you hear a voice. So, sleeper, you all thawed yet? Almost. Never seen one of you come in like this. New frames must have better perseverance in sub-zero vac. See more than a few of you locked frozen solid to hull plates, or inside outer locks in my time. They weren't so lucky. Dragos comes into focus, shrouded in makeshift tech, his headset with its glinting eyes, the mark of a drone operator. On his shoulder, one of his symbiotically linked drones perches, its irising eyes locking you with an unflinching stare. Last living sleeper that came through this yard was a while ago. They didn't last long. You struggle to read his expression beneath the tech, but he seems lost in memory for a moment. Or perhaps he is just figuring out what to do with you. I think because I'm playing this introverted mechanic sleeper, I'm going to stay silent. I won't ask what led you to do it, to sell yourself to a corporation. And I suppose you know you can't go back. Your old body, that's theirs now, and you are just software. A rogue emulation illegally possessing corporate property. You nod along. You remember biometrically signing the forms, the cold floor on your feet as you padded to the sleeper cells, the promise of a life off-world. But as you do, you get the now familiar sensation that these aren't your memories. These are things you know, but not things you feel. You are no longer that person. You are an offshoot. A copy. What you won't know is what's ahead. At least the last one didn't. There's no easy way to put it. That body of yours is falling apart. It's the same for any sleeper who makes it out. S&R wants to protect their property, but if they can't keep hold of you, well, no one can. You remember that too, or at least rumours of it from the other sleepers. Planned obsolescence, a built-in dependence on the regularly administered supplements that were part of your routine. Stop taking them and your body begins to shut down, separate from your emulated mind. How long has it been? How long do you have? But for now, sleeper, you're one of the lucky ones. Dragos glances up and away towards the glassy dome of the yard. The Eye is the best place you could be right now. The Eye? The station. You'll see soon enough. Dragos impatiently shifts his weight. Look, I've got things to be getting on with. He trails off. There's an old freight container I've been using as storage out in the stacks. We haven't been pulling in much valuable scrap these days, so you're welcome to it. Something wells up inside of you. Emotion. Fatigue. You slowly get to your feet. All right, you head on up there. You look like you need some rest. And with that, Dragos stalks back into the wrecks, his drones already converging on a rusting hulk, plasma flashes silhouetting his spindly figure as he returns to work. Okay, so we're now on the eye, and the way the game is structured is it runs in cycles. Cycles are like turns in this game, but also like days. Obviously we're in space, so there is no day and night, but we have cycles instead. So if we go to our home, we can end the cycle. You wake curled up in the corner of the container and begin slowly assembling the world around you. After all this time, you still find this body, the one you wake in now, strange and disjointed. Its message is readable, but somehow wrong. You sit up, pulling the mylar blanket close against the cold. Here you are on this ruined station, millions of miles from anyone you know. Are you still in the system? Did any of the others make it out? It's impossible to know. After all this, what matters? Escape, getting answers, or building a life? You know, I think for this character, it's escape. I think they're scared. The colony, your indentured service, that's in the past now. No point digging through the fragments. You need a path ahead, a way of keeping this failing body going. If you can keep yourself alive, perhaps you can find a way off this station and out of this system for good. Dragos has left a few comforts in the container. The mylar blanket, the bedroll you slept on, a canister of water, a makeshift electric stove, and some faded sachets of some desiccated powder. You thumb the power stud of the stove and begin to boil the water. The contents of the sachets smell like damp wood, and you sprinkle them into the liquid. As the pungent smell washes over you, images from your restless sleep come back to you. A ring, like the station, but skeletal and ghostly. A web of threads pulling at your skin. A constellation of bright polygonal shapes, like angular suns, burning into your mind. There's something unpleasantly visceral about these images, and it is long after you've finished drinking before they begin to fade. Oops. You tidy away the stove as best you can, and try to gather enough energy to greet the day. Okay, so that tutorial there is basically explaining this bit at the top, which is where we have our dice. And as you can see, we have started off this game with an absolutely terrible roll of 2 1s and 2 2s. So it's a rough day already. Up here is your condition, which dictates how many dice you roll each cycle. And each cycle, that condition goes down. So that's the thing we're going to need to heal if we want to survive. Down here, we've got the energy bar. And the way the energy bar works is if you eat, if you're not starving, then it keeps your condition from going down rapidly. If you don't eat, if your energy is empty and you're starving, your condition's going to go down even more rapidly. So that's something we need to take care of. And down here we have our items. This is our currency, cryo, but we don't have any of that right now. Dragos is standing in the corridor when you close up the container. He is still wearing his headset, and in the harsh light of the corridor, you realize it is implanted. A drone sits on his shoulder, its cache of sensor eyes rapidly irising. How are you feeling? After those dice rolls, not good. The drone chirps. Dragos nods. You notice that beneath the operator's rig, his skin is marked by burns and blotches. I know the container isn't much, but it'll keep you safe. He pauses. So, I'm not going to chit-chat too long. You well enough to work? Work? Sure. All right then. He nods. At the yard, it's simple stuff. We hack these old hulls down, sell them off to the shipyards or the bright market dealers for cryo. Occasionally we pull out some tech, something with a bit more value, but most of what comes in is scrap. It's hard to find good hands here, but I figure as a sleeper you'll be used to the manual labour, and I'll obviously slip you a few chits of commission based on what you turn up. Chits? These. He pulls out a handful of small metal bars. Air-walled cryo, isolated from the market. It's what we use for trade out here. He stuffs them back in a pocket. He shuffles his feet nervously. Look, I wouldn't usually do this. In my opinion, you'd be best suited to moving on as quick as you can, but sleepers, well... He trails off. Things the way they are, though. Put me at the yard. He pauses. I need the help. Happy to. Okay. He pauses, thinking of something else to add. Look, just come down to the yard when you're feeling fresher. There's plenty to do. Will do. He nods distractedly and turns and walks away, the drone hopping along ahead of him. See you later, he calls back. Looks like it's time to get to work. So now we have the opportunity to use our dice for the first time. And I'll skip through these tutorials because I can just explain it to you, which basically we have actions here that you can see on either side. And they have skills attached to them, like the skills we discussed earlier. And here we've got a +1 in engineer because we're a machinist. So we're well equipped for this hull dissection work, which says even the rustiest hulls can hide valuable components and materials. Extracting them means cutting carefully and skillfully. On this side, we've got an endure action, which is manual salvage. It's going to take some time to sort and cut your way through the towers of salvage, and you are no stranger to hard labor. So those are the two kind of ways that you can take a character in this particular situation. And then down here we have clocks, which track progress in the game. So at the bottom here we have back in business, which tracks kind of how Dragosh's business is going, and a debt called in, which is a cycle clock. Now, a cycle clock is a clock that ticks on each cycle, and will progress like even if we don't have any any effect on it. And as you can see here, it's a negative clock. So that is Dragosh's debt getting called in. It says Dragosh is tied up in something ugly, and if he misses a payment or two, things could get nasty. So that's a really important thing to keep an eye on, because if Dragosh's debt gets called in, then maybe we won't be able to work with Dragosh anymore. But if we can improve his business down here, well, maybe things go well. But at the moment, we don't have great dice. But what we can do is we can put a 2 in here, engineer, and we'll get a 3 because we've got a +1 here, which gives us a 25% positive, 50% neutral, and 25% negative chance. If we put a 1 in, pushes up to a 2, and we can only get a neutral or negative. It's basically a coin flip between neutral or negative. So this gives us the chance of getting a positive outcome, and it makes neutral the most likely. So let's see how it goes. Nice, so we got the neutral outcome here. Back in business, the clock ticked up 1, so improving the business, and we got 15 cryo, which is not a small amount of cryo. We got lucky this time. We triggered a perk, which gives us scrap components on engineer actions. So we not only got a bit of money for that, we also managed to sneak away a bit of scrap from Dragosh. So that's good for us. The perks we can see over here. So we've got efficient extractor, chance to gain random scrap item on engineer actions. So that is the random scrap item right there, and that is going to be useful because hopefully we can find somewhere to sell that. But the way in which we, track actions in Citizen Sleeper beyond just kind of working at the yard and finding, like the way we find our way through the world is with these little things over here called drives. And so at the moment we've got 2 drives. Repay Dragosh. Dragosh pulled you out of the salvage and set you up. Perhaps you can repay his kindness in time. And if we track that, so you get a little icon appears above Dragosh's yard. That's where we're going to do that. Here we've got a drive that is survive. You need access to corporate pharmaceuticals, otherwise your escape attempt will come to a rapid end. We've got to find a doctor. So we can track that one over here. We'll see that we've got a little thing over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here because I would like to survive and see what's happening in the bright market. So here in the bright market, this is basically, you can see when you have this icon here, it's like a compass. It means that it's a place we can explore and find more about. So we've got this local knowledge clock, and the more local knowledge we get, the more locations will turn up. Unfortunately, we have a minus in engage, which means we are absolutely terrible at asking for directions. And asking for directions is a dangerous thing in the low end, so we're not going to do that. We're going to take a shot at exploring. It's a coin flip, a 50-50. Let's see how it goes. Oh, we're lucky. We got local knowledge, a neutral outcome. You manage to follow the flow of people and start to appreciate, even enjoy, the chaotic layout of the markets. I'm not going to push my luck. What we've unlocked is this character scene with Sabine as Slum Doctor. So let's see what's happening there. Next comes the call from the enforcer at the door. You shuffle down the flickering hallway towards the open apartment door. You keep your head down and your shoulders high in the queue, trying not to bring attention to yourself. You were thankful for the tip-off that a doctor was operating out of this place, but now that you are here, you aren't so sure. The gang enforcer on the door, the flickering light strips, the decaying hab block, They have all made the long queue a test of your nerve. But your options are few, and without a supply of stabilizer, this body, your body, will... You suppress a shiver and shuffle forward to the front of the queue. You try to find something to distract yourself. Look inside or look at the enforcer? Let's look inside. You lean against the door frame and look into the apartment. The entryway is dark, punctuated by the green indicators of stacks of sealed containers. You lean in and see amber light filtering through a far doorway screened with plastic sheeting, beyond which blurred shapes move. The slap of the enforcer's palm against the doorway jerks you awake. "Wait your turn," he growls. After a few moments, a figure pushes through the doorway, and you catch a distant voice. "Send the next one in, Toshiro." The enforcer jerks his head and you slip inside, passing through the dark entryway and pushing through the plastic sheeting on the far door. The room beyond is bathed in warm light. A floor-to-ceiling transparent panel gives a full view of the Bright Market's sealed roof and the buzzing traffic above, and for a moment you are transfixed by the motion. "Come, sit," calls a sharp voice, and you see a silhouetted figure turned away, replacing the plastic sheeting over the frame of a simple folding bed. You make your way across the room. The figure turns, and as they do, you see an expression of confusion flash across their features. They open their mouth as if to speak. They blink, then they quickly regain their composure. "Please sit." They gesture to the bed, and turn to an open case of tools on the table. You sit. Sabine turns, a compact diagnostic scanner of some kind in their hand. They hold it to their eye. "Remain still, please." Their tone is clipped and businesslike. You stare ahead, still dazed from their expression when you first entered. Fear, recognition, sadness, unmistakably etched across their face. "How long have you been on the station?" they ask, the scanner still to their eye. "A few cycles?" Don't answer. "A few cycles." They nod. "It's good you came to me." They set the diagnostic scanner on the table. "I'm going to start by assuming you don't know anything." They take your arm and roll up your sleeve, inspecting your synthetic skin. "Your body is dying." They say it without ceremony, without drama, but not without empathy. SNARP doesn't like to see its proprietary technology let loose. To prevent bodies like yours, frames as they call them, from being stolen, repurposed, or in your case escaping, they built in a process of so-called planned obsolescence. Frames decay rapidly when not regularly injected with stabilizer, one which SNARP remains the sole producer of. They look up. Sound familiar? Yes. Good. That may help. They swap to your other arm, running some thin metal device over your skin. You feel your forearm tremble. "I'm sorry," Sabine says, and you are unsure if they mean for the cold touch of the metal, or everything else. Emulations like you, sleepers as most people know you, aren't classified as people in any of the surrogate systems. You have no rights, no status. They focus hard on the inspection of your arm, and SNARP has no reason to release stabilizer into the market. Sabine looks up as if to apologize again, but they stop themselves. "I know little of this is of use to you." They turn away, disassembling the metal instrument and cleaning it. Silence fills the room as Sabine works, and then the silence gives way to tension. You stare at their back, willing them to say something. Anything. Sabine turns to face you. "I may be able to help." They sigh, and you see the darkness under their eyes, hear the fatigue in their voice. They gesture to the door. "You saw Toshiro outside?" You nod. "He works for my benefactor, yet again. They are influential in the low end. They give me this space to work, run the door, and take the profits. At the same time, I have to fix up their enforcers, tend to their implants, sew up their wounds." They look away. But yet again has connections. Smugglers from the Starwood Belt, mercenaries working for the corporations on Ember. If they can source the stabilizer, maybe you'll have a better chance. Sabine sets down their slate, their notes complete. This is dangerous, and it'll be expensive, but I think we can do it." "Why help me?" Sabine walks away to the window, their face dappled by the shadows of passing drones. Let's just see if this works first. I'll let you know when I have a lead. You nod and leave, Sabine still staring out, unmoving. When you reach the lower level of the market, you look back through the panels of the roof to see if you can see their face, but the room looks dark against the lights of the market. You duck your head and walk off into the crowd. Okay, so we've met Sabine, the slum doctor, who seems to know a lot about sleepers, and something I guess we will find out more about. And right now, Sabine has a cycle clock running. It says sourcing stabilizer. Sabine thinks they can source some stabilizer through yet again, but it's going to take a few cycles. So we've got 3 cycles to wait before we can get some stabilizer, so we're going to need to try and keep ourselves alive. In which case, I am going to do a little bit more exploring over here in the rotunda. It's still tricky, and right now it's just another coin flip. Let's see how it goes. Okay, getting to know the rotunda doesn't just mean new places to visit, it means keeping your eye on new arrivals too. So we have managed to find our way to... We found a new location, the Overlook Bar. And here we can buy rations and get a drink, which is great because we haven't got a huge amount of energy. Let's have a drink, I think. It's necessary while we're waiting for Sabine to acquire the stabilizer. And I think we know that's happening, so let's shift back and go and help Dragos a little bit too. Because we've got a +1 over here, so we're better off using it. Oh, well, we lost the energy from the drink, but we gained 10 cryo. So let's go and spend that cryo on rations to end our day. Not a terrible first day on the eye, given how badly we were set up by our dice. We've got 9 cryo left and a piece of scrap. Let's end the cycle. See what tomorrow brings. This time, you don't wake up. Instead, the ghost of the station, that shifting skeletal ring, surrounds you. For a moment, you are gone, absent from your own body, stretched out across a colourless void. And then the connections begin to establish themselves, threads tugging on the edge of your mind. These threads become vectors of exchange and then extensions, as you feel your thoughts slipping away down them, dissolving into the millions of distributed nodes they connect to. You see the station, no, you feel the station, like a web of texture in a smooth black liquid. Observe it, observe it. Even though you have no eyes, no sight, you feel the map of the station. No, not the map of the station, but the map of its connections. It is a looped cloud with spokes and spires that jut out into space. It is an ingrown thing full of obsolete loops and severed pathways. It is a system, a map, and a territory, all at once. You notice a tugging feeling pulling at you, insistently, as if it were a small child. Somehow it is pulling in 2 directions at once. You look down. All of a sudden, everything shuts off. You come back trembling into this unfamiliar body, both yours and not yours, all at once. You find yourself standing in the container, and eyes now open to the dark steel walls. You feel a change within you, a shift. You close your eyes for a second, and you feel it waiting there, the station splayed out across your mind, a storm of connective nodes waiting to be explored, and then it is gone. So that was a spooky dream, which who knows what that was about, but it suggests that your sleeper is connected to something in the station that might be happening here. So today we had some good rolls, a 6, a 5, and a 5, so we better make some good use of them. The first thing I'm going to do is take a 5 and put it in engineer, because we got a +1, it puts up to 6, and a 6 is a guaranteed positive outcome for us. And we got a random scrap item, and we got 15 cryo back in this. I'm going to do that again. Today is going to be a day of working in the yard, which is great. So now we've got plenty of cryo, some scrap, and Dragos is doing well. Looks like we'll be able to face off that debt before it becomes a problem. Meanwhile, we need to, I think, explore a little more. I'll tell you what, let's go to the Bright Market. And here we'll do ask for directions, because even though we've got a -1, I've got a 6, so that'll take us down to a 50% positive, 50% neutral chance. That means bad things can't happen. So it's dangerous, so we might lose some energy or some money if things go badly, but hopefully it'll go well. And the action says, why wonder when there are hundreds of people that live and work within the bright market? All you need is the courage to approach them. Well, we've got that courage. Let's see what happens. Ah, amazing. So that's a positive outcome. So we filled the local knowledge crock. It says, you end up at a drink stall debating the finer points of the Solheim collapse. You try to remember all the tips your companions offer you. So we've got to know the low end really well now. We've discovered a new drive. Build a ship mind. You've heard talk of a fabricator owned by the Ort Exchange. With that and a few fragments, you could build a ship mind core. It says gain access to the Ort fabricator. Where is the Ort Exchange? So it's this place here. Okay, so what can we do in the Ort Exchange? We can play the exchange. The flow of chits and components in the exchange is complex, but a sharp eye and some tight trades can net you a good margin. So we can make some money here with dice. We don't have any dice left this cycle because I am fading. I can sell scrap components. The Ort Exchange is always hungry for new hardware to buy up, break down, and sell off. If you're happy to supply it, let's sell this scrap. Gets us 12 cryo. And it ticks the trusted trader. There's an old ship mine fabrication stack in the back of the market, but only trusted traders get access to it, so that's perfect. Not that I don't even know how to get a ship mine fragment right now, but I'm going to sell that scrap. Now I got 63 cryo. Yes, it's good, it's good. We should go buy some food. But first, what's happening over here? We'll go to the low end gate. So we need 60 cryo to get through the low end gate. After some space has caused some trouble in the low end, Yataghan have imposed a toll for entry. No one gets in without paying. So if we want to get further around this ring station, because this is the eye. So right now we're on the rim of a big ring station. We're working our way around the outside of it. If we want to get through, we're going to need 60 cryo. So we may well pass through there in a little bit. Maybe once we've got our stabilizer from Sabine, we'll try and head through there to get to the low end, this big housing block here. At the other end of the ring, we've got this shipyard going on as well. And you can see here, this tower in the foreground, that's the that connects up to the hub of the station. So we've got the ship here, which is being constructed in the shipyard. So that's another place that we could follow a story. And that's the way Citizen Sleeper works, really. You can find stories that you're interested in and try and follow them through. So for the moment, let's go visit Emphis over here. Emphis is busy, his broad face uplit by the makeshift gas burner in front of him. With precise, delicate movements, he lays thick chunks of marinated fungus into a dented wok, his other hand idly tossing a metal bowl of sliced vegetables in some red-flecked dressing. The smell is incredible. You watch as he fulfills a set of orders, heaping the fungus with the bright salad and depositing it in plastic trays. A stack of chits rattles in his apron pocket as customers file past the burner, handing over payment. Approach your watch. Let's approach. You join the queue. It's mostly made of off-duty salvagers, vac suits unzipped and rolled down to expose stained vest, grubby mods, and a lattice of scars and tattoos. They discuss the best food on the eye, the best drink, comparing notes on bright market dives, their words cut through with heavy spacer slang. Eventually it's your turn, and you shuffle to the front. Emphis speaks in a deep, even tone without looking up. First try is free. Thank him. The smell is almost unbearably strong as he cooks. The earthiness of the fungus laced with something so spicy, the smoke makes your eyes water. The heat from the burner is like a bonfire, and your skin hardens in its glare. I know you sleepers, Emphis says while he cooks, his voice deep but clear. A hard life, a lot of stories. He glances up from beneath his cap with piercing eyes. I know. Tell him a story. You begin to tell him about your journey to the Eye, and he nods as he cooks, his eyes never leading his work. You tell him of the confusion, the pain, but also the sense of possibility, and its sudden arrival. You tell him of the cold and the dark of the container, and the endless cycles spent within it. Now it seems, you tell him, like some dream that you will once had, but can never forget. You tell him that the eye excites you and scares you, and that you are unsure where to walk, where to look, or what to do. Eventually you tail off, running out of words. He places a plastic tray of steaming fungus in your hand. Next time, we can talk some more. He smiles. But next time, you pay. He slams a heavy hand against a button on the burner's side and it shuts off. The roar of the flame and its impressive heat fades. Next time then, sleeper. I just want to stop here for a second because I want to point to the character art. I don't do the character art for my game. I work with an incredible comic book artist called Guillaume Saugelon, whose work I love. And I think really this Emphys is one of my favorite characters, one of the earliest characters that was drawn for the game. So just take a moment to just appreciate how cool Emphys is before we move on. Okay, that's enough Emphys appreciation time. I think Emphys is one of my favorite characters. He waves you away and begins to oil the wok. Before you turn back to the alley, you notice the geometric patterns of circular scars across his forearms, each surrounded with a constellation of glinting pin marks. You walk away, and as you do, you take a bite of the rich, spicy, delicately sweet fungus. Your taste sensors light up like a fusion reactor. You'll be back. So there, Emphys has fed us, and now we've unlocked Emphys' stall, which we can visit, can order fungus, and we have a clock which says Emphys doesn't trust people easily, but he notices his regular customers in his own quiet way. So if Emphys is a character that interests you in Citizen Sleeper, you can come back here regularly, spend more money with Emphys, and get to know Emphys, and open up a story there. And that's how it works with all the characters in Citizen Sleeper. There's no one you're forced to get to know. It's about choosing your own path. We've also unlocked a drive. Get to know Emphys. So if we wanted, we could track that. We could focus on that. But for the moment, we're full of food. We just had a nice chat. End of dice. I think it's the perfect time to end a cycle, really, before anything else bad can happen. Feels like we are good. Condition continues to drop. Again, the skeletal ring of the station fills your mind. It's these dreams again. It sparkles with glittering lights like stars reflected in a winter lake. It is clearer, crisper than before. The threads still pull, but you remain in place, flickering in the flow. Between the threads you see bright shapes, caches of shimmering lights beneath transparent crystal forms. You follow the path of a thread across the ring, through these forms, and then leap off into the void. You begin to understand. These are nodes and connections, a map of information, of communication. There are so many layers, so many loops that it seems almost impossible to pass, but you begin to try. Focus on the threads or focus on the nodes? Gonna focus on the nodes. The nodes are glassy, bright, but in all this flow, the only solid and fixed points. You approach one, a pyramid, or a triangle. Dimensions are difficult here, and lean close to it. Inside, shifting layers conceal a tangle of threads, a meeting point of exchange. But before you can glimpse any further, the glass clouds and hardens, cutting you off. The threads and nodes, passages and puzzle boxes, one leads to another. There is so much here, so many answers, so many questions. All you need to do is follow the paths and open the boxes. You look out across this ghost landscape of exchange and see an opportunity. But then, that insistent tugging again, pulling at you. You look down again and see two lines, two threads pulling in different directions, as if they were tied around you. The first thread leads out, away from the station, into the inky black. Someone out there is tracking you, hunting you, following the thread to you. They are in a ship, and the ship is approaching ever closer with each cycle. The second thread leads in, pulling deep into the station. Your gaze follows it, and this time you see something, a sphere. You'd think I could say if I wrote it. A sphere shimmering above a strange angular body. A pulse shoots out from it, passing over you like a torch beam, testing you, tasting you. You open your eyes. Time is short. Okay, so we just had these weird dreams, and we know now that we're being tracked by two entities. One in a ship on its way to the station, and something in the station. Some being is watching us. Well, right now we've got this cycle clock that's popped up, hunted. Someone out there is tracking you, following your trail, and it won't be long before they arrive. We've got 8 cycles to deal with this situation. The pressure is on. But also, this little button here has turned up. This little eye. And if we press that, we close our eyes, we enter the data cloud now. And this is a whole other layer of Citizen Sleeper, because as a sleeper, you're somewhere between a digital being and a physical being. And so you are able to close your eyes and access the networks and nodes of this station in this data view. And we are, as a tutorial, we'll ignore that. We are able to unlock these. Let's see if we can find one. We've got to match our dice to get into one of these. How about this agent? So this says, a Havenage member is broadcasting on the open network from here, leaving them open to data extraction. Okay, so this is somebody from Havenage, which is the people who own the shipyard. So we match our input here, bypass, and extract the data. So now we've got one Havenage data, a cache of raw data from Havenage hardware. So we can do a bit of hacking. Where will that data be useful? We'll have to find out. And what is this mysterious bar at the top with the question marks around it? Well, we'll also have to find that out as well. But right now, what would I like to do with these remaining dice? Well, got one more cycle till we get our stabilizer. I think I'm going to focus on trying to sort out Dragosh's business because we got the +1 here. It's good for us. Means we'll get enough cryo. Okay, that means this cycle we might be able to deal with Dragosh's debt. No! We got a negative outcome, so we've lost energy. We gained some money, though. Oh, so close. We were just about to finish this, but that's how randomness works. Okay, let's go in the Overlook bar and have a drink or two. To drink away our disappointment and shame from a poor day at work. And we filled this clock here. Overlook regular. The Overlook isn't exactly a restaurant, meaning the only way you'll gain trust around here is with a stiff drink. So let's see whose interest we've gained. The glass shatters on the steel bar beside you, and the taunts don't take long to follow. Hey, Haunt, Spacer calls across the low room. What are you doing here? He laughs at his own lame joke. Playing human? Shout back, leave. I'm going to ignore him. I'm too shy to shout back at this guy. You hunch a little further, staring at the hundreds of tiny impact points that scar the bar's surface. A hand falls on your shoulder, but as you flinch away, it pats reassuringly. You freeze in place. Out. The voice comes from behind you, spat out like a shot. You turn to see bright eyes, dark hair, a stare that could breach the wall and vent you all into hard vacuum. As you turn back to the spacer, the second glass comes sailing through the air. Catch or duck? I'm just going to duck the glass. You duck and the glass explodes on the bar behind you, showering you in glittering shards. Through the haze of glass and Girol vapor, you see Tala leap the bar and close the distance to the spacer. This is Tala. The thud as he slams into the wall echoes around the bar like thunder. Now, flanked by other figures quick to their feet, Tala throws the spacer out through the door and stands silhouetted against the rotunda lights. You touch your forehead, and it feels wet. Someone helps you to your feet and back onto your stool. Broken glass rattles as it is cleared, and a fresh measure of Girol is glugged out in front of you. That same hand, warm, heavy, falls on your shoulder once more. He isn't coming back. We don't tolerate that kind of shit in here. Tala flops onto the stool beside you. Let's get a look at you. Tala wipes the powdered glass from around the wound, and someone places a bottle of alcohol in a metal tin with tweezers on the bar. She disinfects them and turns to you. You were pretty fast on that second glass, she smiles, picking a piece of glass from your forehead. But not fast enough. You don't feel the pain, only the string of status messages your body delivers concerning dermal damage and exposed structures. You do feel the care, though, as Tala's bright eyes search for your thick synthetic skin for splinters. Watch her or look away. I'm going to look away. Shy mechanic. As Tala works, you glance around the overlook, the dim orange lights built into each table, giving the scattered patrons a conspiratorial mood. You recognize a few from previous meetings, but they all seem to have forgotten the recent confrontation as quickly as it arrived. Each seems in their own bubble, whiling away the hours in this repurposed dock with its meager distractions. It's not as bad as it looks, says Tala, without making it clear if she means the bar or your wounds. Tala smiles to herself. So, you been on the eye long? Just arrived, long enough. Just arrived. I thought so. I've only seen you here a couple of times. A splinter clinks into the tin. Not everyone is like that idiot, you know. We don't all hate you. She glances around. Some of the regulars, maybe they fear you, maybe they're just curious. I don't know. What I do know is the Overlook is a safe place. I know what it's like to be new in this place, trust me. She meets her eye. I'm not trying to convince you of anything or separate you from your chits. I just want you to know that if you need somewhere, you can always come here. I know the rations we've got, how much in the company is, she leans in, limited, but if you need work, I'll happily put you behind the bar, and if you need shelter, well, we can discuss that. You'll be safe. I usually have Francis on the door, but he's up in the Greenway this cycle, haggling with our supplier. Francis tends to be particular about what we serve, even if the clientele isn't. She places her tweezers in the tin with a clink. That's you, Sleeper. Here. She slides the glass of Girol to you. This'll help. She stops, her hand still on the glass. Wait, does this help? I mean, can you get drunk? Nope, no idea. No idea. She laughs. Well, keep trying. I'll let you know if I see any difference. And she walks back around the bar, gathering glasses as she does, and before long is retelling how she threw that spacer out to a new group that just wandered in, complete with dramatic actions. She gestures in your direction and you instinctively look away, back to the worn surface of the bar. You take a sip of the Girol. The earthy fungal tones fill your senses, almost blocking out sight and sound, like diving headfirst into a bog. You may not be able to get drunk, but this connection to something grown, something fermented, something old, feels good. Okay, so we've got a new ally in Tala at the Overlook Bar. And now we can do shifts here. Tala is as good as her word and happy to throw a shift or two your way. The pay isn't great, but tips make all the difference. And like with all of Citizen Sleeper, there's a clock, there's a story, if you want to pursue it. You have to do that in your own time in the game, but I hope you will. But now we're all out of dice, we're all full of food. I think it's time to take another rest, and we'll head to Sabine's, and then we'll have 5 dice from that point on. Okay. 2, a 5, and a 6. Not too bad. Oh. As you close up, a voice echoes down the corridor towards you. Sleeper, wait up. Walk away. I'm going to walk away. Hold up. He catches you and walks alongside. I just want to chat, that's all. This is Feng. You staying in that thing? He nods back to the container, shaking his head. Rough. Can be hard to get a start on the eye. He looks away down the passage. What was it old Erlin said? The eye opens for us all? Nice idea, but, well, not always very practical. He glances back at you. We do our best, but it isn't easy. Erlin? I think it's the first time anyone's mentioned Erlin to me. You pass together through the main walkway. No one's told you about Erlin? He's the founder of this place. That's why it bears his name. Havenage has organised some seminars, he laughs. Not really my department, though. I'm with systems. Havenage. Think of us as an administrative association for the eye. Depending on who you talk to, we either emerged as a response to or a continuation of Andre Erlin's original union. He smiles. Personally, I avoid the topic. He stops you in the quiet passage. Look, that's not what I'm here to discuss. I've been seeing some unusual network activity and, well, I know a little about you sleepers. I have a small proposition for you. He glances around. But this is not the place for it. I have an office just across the way. Give me a cycle or two to prepare, and then when you are settled, stop by. He lowers his voice and gives you a dark look. In truth, I need you. If what they say is true about you sleepers, well, there's work to be done. He pats you on the back, his voice brightened, his dark look suddenly gone. Stay clean, sleeper. He walks off down the passage, raising a hand in farewell. It's another story for us to pursue, but I don't think we're going to do that because we're going to rush over to Sabine to get ourselves that stabilizer we desperately need. But one of the things that really I wanted with Citizen Sleeper is to have this world full of stories. A bit like a tabletop game, you know, I'm playing as your kind of DM, and when you explore this game, I'm trying to provide you with interesting stories, interesting hooks, things that you can do. For now, we're back with Sabine. The first thing you see on entering is the glint of Toshiro's implants, like a cat's eyes in the dark of the corridor. He nods you in as you arrive at Sabine's door. The entryway is still dark, and you push through the sheeting into the surgery. I have it. Sabine stands with the case open in front of them, a set of vials lined up inside, separated by foam inserts. They pick one up, rotating it in the warm light. I have no idea how yet again. They trail off. We should treat this with caution. It looks authentic, but I have really no idea if it is what it appears to be. I think I don't care because my condition is pretty bad. I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we need to be careful. Unfortunately, I'm not sure we have another choice. They gesture for you to sit on the bed. The stabilizer works under a similar principle to an immunosuppressant in a transplant operation, in that it stops your body from rejecting the unfamiliar part of itself. In the case of your frame, the unfamiliar part is each of your biosynthetic organ groups, which over time are identified by your body as foreign material, and therefore must be eliminated. Sabine holds up a vial of the would-be stabilizer. However, unlike an immunosuppressant, the stabilizer doesn't do this by limiting your entire immune system. Instead, it re-encodes your biosynthetic organs with new protein chains, which act as passcodes within your immune system. The stabilizer refreshes those passcodes, keeping your frame from rejecting all its own organs. Passcodes? Yeah. In very basic terms, yes. They sigh. Look, what matters here is the stabilizer should be able to encode any organic or biosynthetic matter to be accepted by your immune system. They glance away, at least if the stabilizer is genuine. The only way to know for sure is to inject the vial. They begin readying the syringe. I will start with a small dose to limit the risk. How sure are you? I'm working with best guesses here, but the case, the vials, it looks authentic. Sabine cracks the glass neck of the stabilizer vial and uses a syringe to extract a fraction of the liquid. They tap the syringe, and you watch as if any sign might emerge from the clear liquid. You barely feel the needle, your frame registering the initial injection, but with little response. A sensation begins to spread from the site, a fizzing, trembling wave that disperses through your arm with incredible speed. Your vision goes white, and when it returns, Sabine appears encased in shards of sparkling light that slowly fade into darkness as you settle back against the bed. You swim in darkness, muffled voices like an argument heard from underwater, prickling waves of cold. When you sit back up, Sabine is sitting in a chair by the window, facing away from you, backlit by the glow of their slate. Awake? What happened? The stabilizer is genuine. They sit down beside the bed. I don't know how Yataghan acquired a case of this stuff, but they did. Sabine looks troubled, distracted. You should rest some more, but you're going to have to do that somewhere else. They gesture to the door. I have other patients. Sorry. Sabine nods towards the case. I'm afraid I can't offer you any more doses. You're going to need to pay for your next dose. Silence fills the room, and they return to their glowing slate. Looking around the room, it seems different somehow, as if things have been moved or shifted. You wonder how long you've been out. Sabine? Nothing comes free, sleeper. Remember that. You manage to get to your feet and wander out into the hallway. The queue stretches down the flicking corridor. Toshiro stands impatiently by the door and fixes you with a glare as you leave. You lower your eyes as you stumble past, somehow faintly aware of the station spinning beneath you. Okay, but we're stable now. Though what's going on with Sabine, we do not know. Let's go have some food at Emphasis to celebrate our new stability. What are we going to do with these last dice? Well, I'll tell you what, let's finish up the work with Dragos, because I really don't want Dragos to have to go into debt. You arrive into a buzz of activity at the yard. Red blinking lights flash across a vast dark shape suspended below the dome. They flicker across scorched hull plates and bent structures, spilling from holes in the twisted shape. The cutter is huge and has been torn apart in some violent encounter. She's a beauty, isn't she? Dragos stands to the side, focusing on the hulking ship as it's lowered into the yard. She is. What is it? What is it? Dragos laughs. That, my friend, is A-grade strap. I should thank you. This place was on its last legs when you turned up, and now look at this. The ship descends slowly, its interior visible through multiple hull breaches. You struggle to gather the same enthusiasm as Dragos for this monstrous craft. You can't help but think of what became of its crew. What happened? What do you mean? He glances at you. I managed to convince our salvager friends to give me it on credit. That's what happened. No, what happened to the ship? Not my concern. He shrugs. The ship creaks like a calving iceberg as it reaches the base of the yard, and Dragos is visibly excited. I know I said you shouldn't stick around, but I'm going to need some help on this one. The drones start to crawl over the hulk, their lights illuminating flashes of dented hull. Watching, you wonder if you arrived in a similar fashion. Locked inside that container, the wreck of an S&R freighter lowered into the yard like a corpse ready to be butchered. Or was it the container delivered to Dragos on its own, a womb for your rebirth into this strange station? You shudder. Perhaps if you could learn something about this ship, you might be able to trace the path that led you to this yard. Dragos squeezes your shoulder. After these past cycles, I think we're up for it. What do you think? You see the fading name of the ship emblazoned on its side. Winterlight. And stay silent. A real beauty, Dragos repeats. Perhaps just to himself. You take one last look at the shattered ship as the drones start cutting, and then slip out of the yard, feeling suddenly cold in the empty passage. Well, we've completed a drive. Yep, which means we've got one upgrade point up here. What we can use for lots of things. Ooh, photosynthetic skin. Sunbathed dice actions allows energy recovery at home, and that's going to move my endure skill up. Let's do that. So now that I've unlocked that perk, I can go home and I can sunbathe over here. And that will give me energy, but right now I'm full of energy. So I'm good for now. Okay. What should we do with my final dice? I think I'm going to finish exploring the rotunda. The dock here. Sealed dock. Which we need encrypted keys for. Something happening here. And there's one last character scene here. Hey, you. Want a chit? Ankita stands beside a huge pile of tied together hull plates. She stretches out her back, her shoulders bulging beneath her flight suit. Sure. You cross the docking concourse as she begins to split the plating into two bundles. What is it with this place? She asked, as she lashes the massive plates together. Everyone wants their cut. She straightens up to imposing height, her armor plates creaking, and looks you up and down. Don't try anything, alright? She taps the butt of her sidearm. I don't want to have to put down anybody else today. Anyone else? She shrugs. What can I say? My temper's a little short lately. Ankita hoists one bundle of plating onto her shoulder. Come on then, enough chat. You've got to earn that chit. You struggle to shoulder the plates, but you do eventually. Ankita gives you a look. Ship's this way. She sets off down a gantry at impressive speed. As you catch up to her, she turns down a passage, pushing through a small crowd of stevedores. What's all this for? Oh, this? She nods at the place on her back. Oh, I'm building a tree house. She gives another of her looks. It's for the ambergris. That cutter you might have seen sitting silent out there. She rapidly turns around the corner as you trail behind. She got cut up pretty bad on our last job and I had to moor up here for a spell. But since then it's only gotten worse. Someone got in and sliced the core from our ship mine, so now she's gone dark. She shifts the panels on her shoulder. The upshot is I'm short one ship mine with a ton of repairs to do, and the rest of the crew signed off the moment they got wind I'd been stranded, so yeah, it's been a time. Sorry to hear it. Yeah, I've seen worse, but I'm bleeding chits every cycle, so I need to get off and fast. Ankita swings the plates from her back, almost knocking you over in the process. This is me. She hauls the second bundle off your shoulder. You're the first person I've met here who might actually be considered helpful. She pauses, chewing her bottom lip. Look, you want to help? Come see me. I need a hand putting Amber back together, and you don't seem like the kind to try anything stupid. She passes the bundles of plates through the ambergris outer lock and turns back. Just don't go spreading all this around. Ankita throws you a couple of chits. Consider it a bonus for not trying to grift me. She gives you a parting nod and ducks through the doorway. All right, get out of here. She calls back when the lock slams shut. So we've also got Ankita and another drive to fix the ambergris. We can help Ankita here. And we've got here something interesting, a locked action. It requires us to have a +1 in our interface skill in order to rewire this drone. So that might really help fix the ship, but we don't have the interface skill. If we were another kind of class, we might have that interface skill. So we'll have to repair it through an engineer action. But we do have a +1 in engineer, so let's use this last dice to give it a shot. Oh dear. So a hull breach triggers a shock depressurization. Ankita seals the breach, but not before you're slammed into the compartment wall. So we lost energy, and we're also grounded. The ambergris is in, well, we ticked a clock marking grounded. The ambergris is in a delicate condition. It will be all too easy to push it over into a cascading collapse. So we want to be really careful there because we could completely ruin Ankita's ship. I don't think she would be very happy about that. And that's it for our dice this cycle. I'm going to use the last of my money, though, to pay the low-end toll and get myself into this other part of the station where there are all kinds of other stories going on, and there is even the Founder's Gap further around, which with 150 cryo we can cross and see what's on the other side of there. But for today, I'm going to leave it there. You have to find this stuff yourself if you want to play the game. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing a bit of Citizen Sleeper demonstrating to you. It's always fun to play this game because it's always fun to see how the dice turn out. I never know kind of how things will go in the early part of the game. So I do love to demonstrate it. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking with us. Yeah, and I hope you have a good LudoNarraCon, and I will see you around.
Wake up, sleeper.
Hi, I'm Gareth Damian Martin. I am the developer of Citizen Sleeper, and I'm a writer, designer, and artist. I do quite a few different things in this studio of mine. I think that for me, my background as a graphic designer has been one of my superpowers as a game designer. I think carrying that through into book design is really exciting, and it's why I'm doing these projects. The tabletop experience for Citizen Sleeper is called Cycles of the Eye, and it's a game that you play with a set of tarot cards and some sets of dice. It's about a sleeper who arrives on the Eye and then has to find their way, build a life for themselves. You will work your way using dice through those stacks of tarot cards to gain resources. The tarot cards also act as what we call the spread. At the end of each cycle, you look at the cards you've worked your way through, and you kind of do a little bit of a tarot reading for your character each cycle to kind of see, like, how did they feel about today? What might their character be thinking right now? What kind of experiences are they having? I think translating the design of Citizen Sleeper into a physical object is a really interesting process. Being able to take that game visual and then ask the question of what is that in an art book? What is that in a tabletop game? So it's really fun to collaborate with Lost in Cult and make print design and have the expertise and the knowledge and the skill set that comes from Lost in Cult, and have my knowledge of design and the strong visual identity of my games, and have those two things combined, I think is really exciting. I really wanted Cycles of the Eye to be something that people could actually take the Citizen Sleeper universe, control it a little more, and take more ownership over their character's journey.